The flow of situations. Discovery, application, impact, discovery. We see here a chain of reaction of change, a long, sharply rising curve of acceleration in human social development. This accelerative thrust has now reached a level at which it can no longer, by any stretch of the imagination, be regarded as normal. The normal institution of industrial society can no longer contain it, and its impact is shaking up all our social institutions. Acceleration is one of the most important and least understood of all social forces. This, however, is only half the story, for the speed up of change is a psychological force as well. Although it has been almost totally ignored by psychology, the rising rate of change in the world around us disturbs our inner equilibrium, altering the very way in which we experience life. Acceleration without translates into acceleration within. This can be illustrated, though in a highly oversimplified fashion. If we think of an individual life as a great channel through which experience flows, this flow of experience consists, or is conceived of consisting, of innumerable situations. Acceleration of change is the surrounding society drastically alters the flow of situations through this channel. There is no neat definition of a situation, yet we would find it impossible to cope with experience if we did not mentally cut it up into these manageable units. Moreover, while the boundary lines between situations may be indistinct, every situation has a certain wholeness about it, a certain integration. Every situation also has certain identifiable components. These include things, a physical setting of natural or man-made objects. Every situation occurs in a place, a location or arena within which the action occurs. It is not accidental that the Latin root Ch2 means place. Every social situation also has, by definition, a cast of characters, people. Situations also involve a location in the organisational network of society and a context of ideas or information. Any situation can be analysed in terms of these 5 components. But situations also involve a separate dimension which, because it cuts across all of the others, is frequently overlooked. This is duration, the span of time over which the situation occurs. 2 situations alike, in all other aspects, are not the same at all, if one lasts longer than the other. For time enters into the mix in a crucial way, changing the meaning or content of situations. Just as the funeral march played at too high a speed becomes a merry tinkle of sounds, so a situation that is dragged out has a distinctly different flavour or meaning than one that strikes us in staccato fashion, erupting suddenly and subsiding as quickly. Here then is the first delicate point at which the accelerative thrust in the larger society crashes up against the ordinary daily experience of the contemporary individual. For the acceleration of change, as we shall show, shortens the duration of many situations. This not only drastically alters the flavour, but hastens their passage through the experiential channel. Compared with life in a less rapidly changing society, more situations now flow through this channel in any given interval of time, and this implies profound changes in human psychology. For while we tend to focus on only one situation at a time, the increased rate at which situations flow past us vastly complicates the entire structure of life, multiplying the number of roles we must play and the number of choices we are forced to make. This in turn accounts for the choking sense of complexity about contemporary life. Moreover, the speeded up flow-through of situations demands much more work from the complex focusing mechanisms by which we shift our attention from one situation to another. There is more switching to one problem. There is more switching back and forth, less time for extended, peaceful attention to one problem or situation at a time. This is what lies behind the vague feeling noted earlier that things are moving faster. They are, around us and through us. There is, however, still another, even more powerfully significant way in which the acceleration of change in society increases the difficulty of coping with life. This stems from the fantastic intrusion of novelty, newness into our existence. Each situation is unique, but situations often resemble one another. This, in fact, is what makes it possible to learn from experience. If each situation were wholly novel, without some resemblance to previously experienced situations, our ability to cope would be hopelessly crippled. The acceleration of change, however, radically alters the balance between novel and familiar situations. Rising rates of change thus compel us not merely to cope with a faster flow, but with more and more situations to which previous personal experience does not apply. And the psychological implications of this simple fact, which we shall explore later in this book, are nothing short of explosive. When things start changing outside, you are going to have a parallel change taking place inside, says Christopher Wright of the Institute for the Study of Science and Human Affairs. The nature of these inner changes is so profound, however, that as the accelerative thrust picks up speed, it will test our ability to live within the parameters that have until now defined man and society. In the words of psychoanalyst Erik Erikson, in our society at present, the natural course of events is precisely that the rate of change should continue to accelerate up to the as yet unreached limits of human and institutional adaptability. To survive, to avert what we have termed future shock, the individual must become infinitely more adaptable and capable than ever before. He must search out totally new ways to anchor himself. For all the old roots, religion, nation, community, family, or profession, are now shaking under the hurricane impact of the accelerative thrust. Before he can do so, however, he must understand in greater detail how the effects of acceleration penetrate his personal life, creep into his behaviour, and alter the quality of existence. He must, in other words, understand transience.